Hey there, I'm James McKinnon.
And I'm Dago Renaud.
And you're listening to This Indie Life. This Indie Life follows the journey of two former indie hackers as we navigate the good, the bad and the ugly, attempting to turn our indie hacker dreams into reality. Dago used to run Logology, a logo design product, but now has a job. I run a podcast editing service and I have a handmade leather wallet side project. In this episode, Dago talks about a huge life event, which is going to kind of change the trajectory of his indie life. Meanwhile, I reflect on one of the best weeks I've had in a while after spending some time away relaxing. Let's get into it. So, mate, I've had probably one of the best weeks I've had in terms of getting work done in years. It is the first time I don't know if it's the first time. I've probably felt like this a little bit. But coming off the back of last week, I feel pretty incredible. And there's a few things that have happened before, but I've set out what I wanted to do and I've just fucking done it. And it feels incredible. And that's a very simple thing. Set out work to do and then just do it. But I've not been able to make myself do that properly for the last couple of years.
Is it because you're wearing a jacket?
You know, I specifically put this on for the recording. This morning I went to the gym and I had my gym clothes on.
Okay, cool.
Just for you, just for the podcast. But when I was in New York, I just had t-shirts for the recordings we were doing. And I thought, well, what if I got some nicer clothes for my recording? And I bought a bunch of just shirts. This is just an over shirt that I'm wearing almost as a jacket for various things. And if you're listening on audio, you must go to YouTube and see this lovely corduroy overshirt that I got from Uniqlo. And it was only £30, which I thought was a very good deal.
Yeah.
Uniqlo's so good. And every time I've been going into the office for work, I've been wearing nicer clothes. And you know what? I feel better. It's really weird. They always say putting on nicer clothes makes you feel better. Yeah,
it does. You know, I think we didn't talk on the podcast, but I told you I hired a stylist, so it definitely makes you feel better. Oh, yeah.
How did that go?
Oh, well, as you can see, the work hasn't been completed yet. but it went awesome. This guy is a genius of fashion and styling and design. So, it's not just a guy who tells you, oh, you need to wear orange because your skin is like that. He's what's your vision? Who inspires you? This kind of shit. And what kind of aesthetic do you like? He asked me to send him pictures of kitchen I liked. So he came to my house, he gave me a nice PDF of everything he thought, the direction I should go. We kind of went back and forth on it a bit. And now we set out the direction of my style. And so I will go to get, to do some shopping with him, but without buying anything, just trying stuff. And so, so that's the next step. Probably happen next couple of weeks. And then over time, I will buy clothes, over time based on his recommendations.
Well, that sounds like a fun process. And one thing that's actually changed a little bit for me over the past couple of weeks, I've unintentionally started losing weight. So I took up cycling a little while ago, and with everything I take up, I go 0 to 100. So I was really intensely cycling. And I was eating better because I wanted to be better at cycling. And I was also still playing tennis 3 or 4 times a week. And then I just started eating less and better and doing more sport. And I thought I'll jump on the scales. And I'd lost 5 kilos. And that was about 4 weeks ago. And people have started mentioning it to me. So I just want to keep going. But I am scared of getting on the weights again, getting on the scale again to see where I am. But right now, I feel motivated to do it. So I'm not going to check the weight because I don't want to be demotivated by the results. I just want to keep going. And it means I'm buying slightly smaller clothes, and I haven't been able to fit into a medium shirt for a while, and this is a medium. The other shirt I got was a medium, and that just feels good. I don't know if they're sizing up or whatever or accounting for shrinkage, but wearing smaller clothes is better and losing weight feels better.
I need to come and see you while you're still fat, because I'm kidding, but you know what I mean. It's I need to come see you while you're your version of yourself, so that one day I can compare, because I haven't seen you in person, so I don't know what you look like.
So I'm generally feeling good. Since the last recording, I've also been on 2 trips. One trip was to the US, which I was dreading, and that was 5 days where I was doing New York and San Francisco, 5 podcast recordings for my client.
Oh wow, okay.
And I just wasn't looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But I found a way to travel quite light for it. So where I had a really big suitcase of all my gear, when I say suitcase, it's a gear case. I managed to bring it down to a carry-on case. like a small carry-on case. And I kind of changed my positioning or like my framing of this trip, that I was just going to try and enjoy it. I was going to relax and not stress, because I got really stressed the last couple of times and I just hated being there. And it was 5 days. I really enjoyed it. My family were looking after my cats. That's always a worry because I don't like leaving them.
And does your cat look after your mom? Oh no.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a mutually beneficial.
Mutual thing. Yeah. Exactly.
Catship. Okay, cool.
Look, I've got a cat right here that I can stroke to make me feel better when I talk to you.
And when they call you fat. Yeah, okay. Thank you, kitty.
So, like, the trip to the States was surprisingly good. San Francisco was interesting. We recorded with the CMO of Salesforce, and we got to go into the Salesforce Tower, which is the big building in San Francisco. And we got to go to the top of it, and we got a lovely view.
I bet you can't really say what you think, but like, how is the CMO of Salesforce? Like, how what's his vibe?
You know, I can say what I think, and I do, no matter how it impacts me. Okay. He was one of the nicest guys I've come across. Now, there are CMOs that I've come across while recording this podcast who are dry as fuck. They're so far away from the work that they've got nothing interesting to say. And I'm like, how have you got so senior? Mm-hmm. But this guy, chap called Colin Fleming, he was an ex-racing driver. So he's already got like a little bit of an edge to him. And he was telling us stories he shouldn't have told us. So he's completely open. And he just gave us so much time. He made us feel welcome. And often when I'm doing these recordings with guests, they like ignore me. I'm just like, I'm the one who presses the buttons. But every now and then,
that's how I am with you.
Just a button presser. I'm just here to facilitate your podcast. I understand.
Oh yeah, you get that height. Yeah.
But he like genuinely got to know me and John, my client, and we got to go up to the top floor, which is usually for Salesforce clients.
It's like fancy floor, I bet, like with a nice view.
It's the tallest floor in San Francisco, so you could see all over it, and it was a beautiful day. So I did that trip. I also did a trip to Lisbon with my indie friends. It was a 3-day trip, and I just switched off and just enjoyed myself. And it was only 3 days, but that 3 days just kind of reset me. And I've been needing a trip away for so long.
And you didn't have money problems during this trip, right? Because last year, you had this kind of like, you went skiing or something and you couldn't buy shit. And so you were very frustrated. And this time it seems like it wasn't like that.
100% Dago. Like spot on. That is exactly what's happened and how I feel. So yeah, I'm feeling good. And what have I done with this newfound energy? So I'm on a mission to get Indie Bites back on track. Now, I've really struggled to get regular episodes out. In fact, last time we spoke, I was on like a good run, and then I had a little break because I had the few weeks where I was going on trips and it was hard to keep to the schedule. But I then recorded an episode with my sponsors, which are Email Octopus, and it was really good having a chat with them. And I said, look, I know I've let you down on this sponsorship deal. I haven't got the episodes out in the time that I've said. I understand if you don't want to continue. And they were like, look, we don't just want to stop. Like, we don't think that's fair, but how can we help you? And I was like, they're not annoyed with me. They're like trying to see how they can help, and they're not crazy, instantly like, we're not gonna. So that approach awesome. made me feel really good. And I thought, okay, well, I want to do it for these guys, because they said if you get your next, I think we've got 6 episodes left in the episodes that they paid for. If you can get them out every week, then we'll have the chat about continuing for another 6 months. If you don't, then we'll leave it there. And I thought that was a very fair thing for them to say. So I'm on a mission to get ahead of myself. I've booked on a ton of recordings, and I'm enjoying doing Indie Bites again.
That's awesome, dude. Like, you just gotta keep wearing that overshirt. That's like...
I'll tell you another thing I did. I joined a co-working space in Canterbury, where I live.
Yeah.
You do the same? What, in Lille?
Yeah, I told you that like 3 months ago. Like, I've been going every fucking day, and I love it.
Is it good? You like it?
It's brilliant, yeah. It's like half of the people are like entrepreneurs, indies, freelancers, and such a good vibe. Like every lunch, there's like 10 people having lunch together and like telling stories, like the best fucking shit.
Well, I think it flicked a switch in me, actually, joining that co-working space. So it was last Tuesday I joined, and then Wednesday I went, and it was pissing it down with rain. And I usually, when it's raining, I'm not leaving the house. But I was like, no, I'm going to go because I want to have like a commute and separate home from work.
Exactly, yeah.
And so I put on my nice shirt and I got an umbrella out and I walked down to the office and did a day of work. And it was like my most focused day I've had in a long time. And then I went to Lisbon for the weekend. And I haven't been back since that Wednesday because I've been just crushing through my work. But I'm going to stay doing it. I've bought a 3-day-a-week pass.
Yeah, that's
and just
nice.
having that separation from home. And I don't know if I'm going to do it long term, but it's certainly helped me separate home where I've got so much distraction to in the office where that is solely for doing my work.
Definitely. Yeah, I did it because I was having a hard time motivating myself on my job. Because like when you have your own business, it's easy to be motivated because if you're not motivated, you die. But if you have a job, it's pretty, and my job is pretty comfortable. Like it's easy to like, oh, it's not.
Be complacent.
Yeah.
One thing I'll add from my week, and it's a cautionary note, is that although I have money at the moment and I'm feeling good because of that, I will run out soon, like within the next couple of weeks. And so I need to do something now while I'm feeling good to try and make some money for the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And So I'm not 100% sure, but the most obvious solution for me to earn some income is through the wallet business because we've got Black Friday and holidays coming up. And I feel if I put enough effort into that and I've started writing out a plan on what I need to do to get those sales, then that is income. Because my other options, sell sponsorships for the podcast, can't already have it. We'll have a chat in January. Number 2 is get new client work, and I'm not accepting new client work because I don't have time for it. And the only client work I will take on is if it's a big video client like the one I've got at the moment, in which case I will make time for it. Yeah, well, that's all from me. I wanted to fly through my updates because I've had loads of stuff. And the reason I've gone first is, Dago, tell me what you want to tell me. What's been happening? What's new with you?
Yeah, and I feel very weird because I'm so happy, but the news is so bad is that I'm leaving Lucy. I'm divorcing. Yeah, so where can I start? Like, it's been basically 3 months since it's been brewing. It's basically the continuation of my work on myself following the burnout, where I basically took a hard look at everything. And I went from having zero social life, except on Twitter, to going out on a co-working space all the time. I went from dreading having a job to loving having a job. Basically because I was working on why was I so intense with being a freelance or being an entrepreneur, or why do I always have to be productive? And so eventually my life is getting better and better, and it led me to, there's still something that I feel bad about. It's not making me happy. And so basically what I realized is that a couple years back, there was something with Lucy that happened that is actually one of the reasons I burned out. And I didn't know that. So basically, me and Lucy, we got married 5 years ago, and we tried having a kid for a while. So that was 1 year after starting Logology. So we started Logology at the same time that we started, trying to have a kid, which was probably not a good move, but whatever, that's what we did. And so we tried for a while, didn't happen. And then we had a talk, and I realized she didn't want to have one. She didn't. And it's not so much that she didn't want to have one, but for me, it was very shocking. And I remember at the time, I felt repulsed by her. I'm just, saying it like it is. I'm not, I love her. She's amazing. But at the time, that's what I felt. Okay. And so it was a very big disappointment because we had been talking about it for years. We had been together 8 or 9 years at this point. And so at this time, I felt so bad because of it. And I was so in shock that she basically said, oh no, I don't want to do that. I want to focus on this and that. And to me, that was such a letdown that I remember how I felt, and I basically couldn't accept it or handle it. And so what I did is I brushed it off and I put it, under the rug. That was 4 years ago. And so that's when I started actually overworking way more And when and I'm not blaming her or anything like that. I'm just saying, what happened, And so, because, I totally respect her for like not wanting that. There's no problem. It's just that for me, the way I lived it, it was like such betrayal, basically. That's how I felt, And so I couldn't handle it emotionally. And I was also stressed with logology, of course, and she was too. And so I put everything under the rug. And that's when I started, going kind of like crazy in a way that's not healthy. When I started, overworking, I also started, being more kind of like controlling of her at times. It was all like unconscious, stuff that I was doing. Basically, what happened, I think, is that I tried to find a way out of like this feeling by, thinking, okay, if we succeed with this startup, it's gonna kind of like salvage it or something. Like it became kind of like our baby in a way that's unhealthy. It kind of like became that to me, became way too intense as kind of like a compensation for that. And I think that's what led me down a path to eventually, burnout. And so now that I'm on the other side and I'm like working on myself, kind of like, processing everything, and I realized, okay, shit, this is what happened. And this is why I burnt out, so bad.
Holy shit, dude. First of all, thanks for sharing and being so open. I think I don't know many other people that would be so open in sharing what you are sharing. So thank you for that. Why are you sharing it now?
So the thing is, I've been processing this the last 3 months because I had this realization 3 months ago. And so I was like, okay, what do I want to do then? Like, do I want to because like once you understand that, you have many ways. Like we could have stayed together. We could have, done a bunch of things. She wanted to stay together. There was no, and also I still love her. She still loves me. Like we have all these things. Like it's not like we still have respect, honesty for each other, all of these things. But it's just eventually I realized, I think I had been sacrificing a lot of like stuff I wanted to do, by myself, the life I really wanted to live, because I was like, kind of like planning a life together with like some expectations. And unconsciously, I had this expectation also of like having a baby or something. I mean, once I processed that, okay, this is not going to happen, and I accept it, I was like, well, I have no need for like being in a relationship at all. Like I have no need to be with Lucy or anyone. Like I kind of like feel like also because of like what I've been through this past few years, and how much I've grown, I'm like, oh wow, I kind of like was living this life where I had this idea of like what my relationship should be, like my life, I should be in a relationship and all that and have kids and shit. And now I feel like, oh wow, I don't have a need for any of that. And once I realized I didn't have a need, I started asking myself, do I have a desire for it? It's not so much that I want kids, it's that because I don't actually think I want kids like for now, but it's just that I was basically living kind of like a life that wasn't necessarily 100% my own, but that was like a fantasy of the life I wanted to live, get married, have kids and all that. And so, yeah, by doing all this work on myself, I realized, oh, okay, I don't actually necessarily want that life. And that's also why I think I was disappointed in her at the time, is because I was kind of like playing the game of like this life of like, I'm going to ask you to marry me, we're going to have kids. I was kind of like, trying to live this life. And so I was disappointed because she wasn't playing the game with me. That's basically why I was disappointed. Like she wasn't playing the game with me. And now I realized once I, looked at everything, oh, it's not even the game I really wanted to play. I was just playing that game of having a wife, having kids, because I thought that's what I wanted. But now I'm like, I want to be single. Like I want to be alone. I want to be like building my own life all the time. I don't want to have to compromise. I don't want to do that. And so it started really brewing and emerging in me this last few months. And so now it's kind of like paradoxical because I love her. I think she's sexy. I think she's clever. She's honest. She's brilliant. And at the same time, like, I don't give a shit, man. I don't want to be like with someone. I don't want to have to compromise or anything like that. And I try to sort it out. And like, is it because I feel hurt or something? And no, like I really like, I feel love for her. It's not about that. It's about, I met her when I was 21 and I'm like, dude, I'm 34. I want to live some shit. I want to be alone. I want to like, I feel stronger now than when I was 21. I want to be living shit on my own, like without any kind of like compromise or shit. Or like, and it's not just her, it's like any, like I don't want to be in a relationship for a while. Like it's just like, I just want to enjoy, you know, life on my own and like build my own shit.
I get that. On compromise and not wanting to compromise. Now, I've not been in any serious relationships, but I was under the impression that compromise is part of it to make it work.
Oh yeah, it is. But like as I said, like I have no interest in making it work anymore. Like, you know, we've been together 12 years. I feel like we've always grown together. Like for 12 years, we've kept growing together. Like it's been such a gift to have her in my life. And now it's just obvious to me that I want to keep going. You know, obviously I want to keep going. And I'm like, I can't, like, no way, like, it's going to be with her. Like, I can't grow with her more. Like, it's like, I really feel like it's the end of the road, like, of actually being in a relationship. Like, we're going to stay friends, we're going to still see each other, you know, but like, basically, I think the reality is I should have left like 4 years ago with this baby thing. Because this was like when I realized, oh, okay, that's not what I expected. But like, I didn't took any time to process it. And I just put it under the rug. And, you know, and then I eventually burnt out because of like all the accumulated tension and, you know, pain.
Do you have regrets about that? Because I try and go through life not having regrets about things, but realizing I was in a different position then and didn't have the information to make the decision that I do have now upon reflection.
No, I don't have regrets. I feel like, oh shit, I could have saved a couple years. But at the same time, this burnout, everything I learned about myself through this burnout, without all the pressure I was putting under myself that led to this burnout, I would have done what I did with Twitter. I would have done, you know, all these experiences I made that are now a part of me and that I'm so happy I did, you know, like having built an audience to like 80K followers, having made so many connections, you know, doing the course and shit. No regrets. And like, I just feel like such a different person now. You know, I feel like this past 5 years, it's put me like kind of like in a washing machine and like, and I've been like, but like in a positive way, like in a way that like it was very intense, like compared to like the 10 years before that, I lived like way more. And so I feel like, you know, once I accepted, okay, this is over, man, like, I feel like this is my real life. Like, I feel like this is the life I wanted like a couple of years ago. And so I don't know, like, it just feels so fucking over. Like, it's just obvious. So, yeah.
I think we all have these like inflection points in our life where we go one direction or the other. One of that can be leaving your job and starting a startup. One can be having a baby, meeting someone, whatever it might be. You're just in a different season of your life now. And I think it's good that you're going out and doing stuff, by the way, because when we were speaking like 6-8 months a year ago and you were saying, I'm a hermit, I don't go out. I was like, well, you don't go out at all? You're like, no. I'm like, you don't enjoy it? Like no. That. When I feel like we need that. We had 2 years, 3 years of being stuck indoors and I got really fucking lonely. And all I wanted was to be with people. Didn't matter if like just human interactions I know I needed, even though I felt I'd gone more introverted in that time. I needed people. And now when I go out, I don't miss an opportunity to spend time with people, spend time with family. And I think it's good that you're doing that.
You know, like, I was speaking to a friend yesterday and he told me like relationships hold because you kind of like have a match for your neurosis. Like it's like you have mutually compatible shit basically. And so when you clean some of the shit, then it challenges everything because like you don't need the same person the same, you don't have the same desire. And so yeah, I mean, I love Lucy. Like I deeply love her, like I really do. Like I can't not love her, like I really do. But like feels like a different phase, and I feel like maybe if we had a kid like 4 years ago, maybe it would have been completely different because I would have grown a different way, she would have grown a different way, and maybe we would have stayed together like 20 more years. You know, I don't know. Like there's no way to know. But I feel like this path that I took, which is like burnout with logology, and now you know get clear of that. Well, it's kind of like making us separate now. And it's okay, because again, it's not like it does. I mean, I'm saying that because we've been processing it for 3 months. You know, we've cried a shit ton of time. You know, we've been through a lot like of emotional processing over the past 3 months. Obviously, I'm just kind of like on the other side now. So, I mean, partially. So I feel better to talk about it. But yeah, I don't know, like I feel so at peace Because yeah, again, I'm not leaving someone because I have something to fault her with, or like I don't love her or something. It's just like, yeah, I love you, but like I mean, I gotta do this.
Cool, man. Well, it sounds like you put a lot of thought into it, and it's going to be ultimately a good decision for you. I'm interested to catch up next time on sort of how you're feeling and what changes you've made in the rest of your life to, like, as a result of this decision. And yeah, so hopefully we'll come back in a few weeks and get another update. Thank you for listening to this episode of This Indie Live. Hope you enjoyed the chat between myself and Dago. If you have any questions or feedback, feel free to send us a message on Twitter. Our handle is @IndieLivePod. I'll pop a link in the show notes for you. And if you want to watch us instead of listen, see my lovely new shirt, a reminder that the pod is on YouTube. That's all from me. Stay indie. James out.